Hello, fellow gamers. Cryptic Panther here. Something a little different. I've decided to maybe start a little series of my own. I'm gonna call it Panther's Rant for now. I know anyone that's ever gamed with me knows that I do rage, and I usually don't have a filter. The curse words usually flow fairly well. Same as if you listen to the podcast, I usually don't hold anything back. I'm not known for my candor in most cases. And if anyone has listened to the podcast, they know I don't have a lot of love for the Nintendo Switch. So for my first episode of Panther's Rant, it's going to be about the Nintendo Switch. So anyone that has not familiar with the ranting on my channel and on the podcast channel, that's me and a few friends have, we've picked on the Switch almost, almost every podcast that we've done. We've kind of like shit all over the Switch. It's kind of become a thing. But something new come about today. So this is an IGN article. I'm going to link it in the description. As there's also another article that's mentioned in this one. I'm going to link that one too, so you guys can read up on it. So the headline of this is Nintendo Switch games may require memory cards to experience all content. So not only when they made the Switch, they put in, I do believe it's a 64 gig internal memory. So once that's full, you have to buy micro SD cards. And like I said, that other article that was mentioned, it mentions that the Switch will support 2 terabyte cards whenever they become available for purchase. As of right now, they don't exist. And in the one IGN article, they say that the micro SD cards that are compatible are available for commercial purchase. 250 gig is the largest you can buy, and they are $200 at most retailers. So I've done a quick search. I went to Amazon. I'm in Canada, so I went to Amazon.ca. I done a quick search, and there's some that aren't bad price. Some of the 128 gig cards are they're pricey. How a lot more than what a hard drive is. How a lot more than what solid state drives are going for now. But there is one here at 250 gig. The micro SD cards that are compatible with the Switch is $246. I mean, you can shop around. You're going to find some that are definitely cheaper. And I mean, like I said, this is Canadian pricing. So at the time the RGN article was released, and the time I'm, going through just Amazon in Canada, you're looking at, here's one here for $187. That's 256 gigabyte SD card. $187. So not only does the Nintendo come with a small internal storage of 64 gigs, I do believe. If I am wrong, feel free to comment below. But 64 gigs isn't a lot when you're talking current gen games. So here's the article. I'm gonna read through it, and I'm gonna drop my opinions as we go. So in an announcement, Nintendo noted that a micro SD card will be needed for certain Nintendo Switch games that contain an especially large amount of content and require additional storage for players to enjoy the full experience. At least one upcoming release in NBA 2K18, which is in the thumbnail and also in this video, because I made this little custom thumbnail, and I'm just gonna link it through because I'm not gonna post videos. I'm not gonna post anything else in the video. It's all audio. You can look at the thumbnail once and be happy with it, whatever. But this is kind of just my rant. So NBA 2K18 comes out right on the front cover. It says internet download and micro SD card required. Not recommended, it's required right on the box art of this game. So then Nintendo's making sure not to blindside players who purchase games that need extra storage. The representative of Nintendo America confirmed that box art, like the NBA one, will have notices on the front and the back, yada yada yada. Nintendo also clarified that games requiring additional space of a memory card will still allow those without a micro SD card to play portions of those games. So you go to your local Walmart, you order the hard version, or copy version from Amazon or GameStop, EB Game, wherever you get your games from. You get your little memory card, the game's on it, you slap it in. Oh, additional space required. You can only play half of the game. So you just spent $60 or $40 or whatever the cost of that game is. But because you don't have an extra micro SD card installed, you can't play the full content of the game. So right out of the gate, it's not only the price of the game, but now you're going to be forced to buy SD cards. And yes, I know most of these games aren't going to take up a lot of space. And I know like you don't, but still, you got to shell out that money. It's not like, everyone has a boatload of micro SD cards kicking around. If it was USB drives, like thumb drives, how many people don't have at least 2 or 3 of them things kicking around? That would have been a better solution. Thumb drives, in my opinion, would have been a better solution to have for backup storage than micro SD cards. I do believe you could probably get thumb drives at a better price, larger capacity, or even large capacity ones at a decent price. I know I bought a 64 gig one not long ago, and it was cheap. I was surprised at the price of it. So here we go. Like I said, we've shit all over the Switch multiple times, and now this thing here with their limited internal storage, and they're requiring for at least 1 point I'll give them. I know I kind of stumbled a little bit there. I know 1 point I'll give them for a plus on is at least they have right on the front of the packaging and on the back that internet download and a micro SD card is required. But the thing is, so the game developers, either the micro SD card that they're putting or the cartridge that they use, they're cutting costs by not making it large enough to hold the whole game content. They're pushing the cost of basically production over on the user, which is not fucking cool. Could you imagine if that's how other consoles were? You bought it, okay, yes, 500 gig hard drives are pretty fucking small. I know my PS4 upgraded to a terabyte, and I even bought a 2 terabyte external. I mean, yeah, but still, the hell of a lot cheaper, the 2 terabyte external and the 1 terabyte upgrade for my PlayStation 4 was still cheaper than what you're going to be sinking into SD cards down the road in your Switch. Considering, if all these games do come out that they keep saying that they're going to get lots of third-party support, how many SD cards you want to carry around? So you either have to buy a big card to store a bunch of your games on, which is expensive, or you're going to have to buy a bunch of smaller, cheaper ones, and then have 4 or 5 SD cards kicking around with game saves on it and game data. So it's just another fail on the Switch side. And it says, it says a lot about their forethought of, where they were going with this console when they came out with it. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When the Nintendo announced they were coming with a new console, I was excited. I was like, yes, build us a console, not a portable gaming system. Build us a fucking console so I can play Mario Kart. My wife, she loves Mario games. She grew up playing Mario games, Mario Kart. I'm even interested in Breath of the Wild, but I'm not buying a fucking Switch to play it. I don't own a Wii U. I don't know anyone that does. My niece owns one, but she don't live here. What the hell am I going to find some random person and go over, knock on the door, like, excuse me, you got a Switch or a Wii U so I can go play Zelda Breath of the Wild? Like, I'm not a fucking crazy person. Who owns that stuff? I mean, I know people are going to say, oh, you're just a Nintendo or you're a Sony fanboy, yada, 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 shitting on the Switch. I'm not the only one. Good buddy of mine, Uber YouTuber, he joined the podcast after we brought him on to try to defend the Switch. So he's a big proponent for the Switch. He loves it. He thinks it's great. And I mean, all the power to you, man. I mean, it, for what it is, it's a good console, I do believe. I mean, it's selling. It's, a lot of people buying, a lot of people are in love with it. But to me, I think it was overpriced. I think this portable console thing, this niche thing that Nintendo constantly tries to put themselves in, it turns off a lot of gamers. A lot of hardcore gamers. I mean, I don't know if you call myself a hardcore gamer, but man, this is another knock against Nintendo and the Switch. And here's another thing too. Nintendo's partnership with SanDisk mean an introduction of branded micro SDXC in 64 gig and 128 size cards. And in the thumbnail, you'll see the branded Switch micro SD cards. I'm not sure what the sizes on the thumbnail are, but I don't know if it's 64 and 128, but they're showing, I think it's 32 and maybe 128 or 32 and 64. But yes, so at least their forethought was to, okay, we'll support a 2 terabyte micro SD card, but not even available in the market yet. The biggest is 256. So can you imagine if a 256 gigabyte card goes for, we'll say, $180, either Canadian or US, what a 2 terabyte card would be worth? Yes, I know eventually prices are going to come down in this because, as you know, as the more market gets spent on it, the more the market gets filled with this type of card and these cards, and people buy them up. Prices eventually will start to come down, but still, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's just so many issues in my mind with the way the Switch was given to users, and now that game developers or publishers, I can't knock the developers because I don't know, who decides what size of the SD card or the cassette card or the cartridge, or we want to call it, gets produced. Whether they can make a, instead of putting it on a 64 gig card or 512 meg card, and then making the users go out and purchase an SD card. So yeah, I mean, just another knock on Nintendo. Like I said, I was excited for a new Nintendo console. I was hoping for something, you know, revolutionary, an actual sit down console like the old NES, SNES days. But no, they have to give us this portable fucking piece of shit that just, I don't know, it's a money pit. The Joy-Con controllers are fucking expensive. I mean, they're more money than a PlayStation 4 controller. Yes, I know I'm off topic a little bit, but we'll get back on topic here. Micro SD cards in Nintendo Switch, Nintendo partnership with SanDisk, putting the cost and the onus on the users now to make sure that the games they buy that require SD cards they actually purchased and have enough SD cards kicking around to put their fucking full game content on. Another slap in the face to Switch users, in my mind. I mean, someone out there is gonna defend this, and that's fine. Feel free, defend away. I have a hard time defending Nintendo on their ideas for this console, and I just think that that's another slap in the face to the user base. Some people are going to think it's not a big deal. I mean, I go to the comment section on this IGN post, and some people are, oh, it's not a big deal, and other people are saying like, you got to buy an SD card, and like what I said, it's like, well, if the game developer, the game publisher couldn't put the whole game on one cartridge, that cut cost for them. So they're selling you say a $60 game or whatever the cost of the Switch games are. We'll say 60. So they make the cartridge $60, but yet you still got to go out and buy an SD. So you have to buy the game and an SD card, or already own an SD card to play the fucking full game. That's ridiculous. When the games come, the game itself, the full launch of the game should be on a cartridge that is, you plug it in and you can play the whole thing. If there's DLC down the road, then fine. But if you're going to purchase an SD card or already have one purchased to fucking install your game and to play the full content on day one, that is fucking ridiculous. So, thanks for listening to the Panthers Rant. I'm hoping I can keep this going. There's usually enough. I mean, there's probably going to be some more Switch articles down the road that'll probably trigger me. That's the key word nowadays, being triggered. But yeah, if you have any ideas, you have any comments, you want to tell me that I'm wrong, you want to counter argue with me, feel free. Bring it on. Bring it on. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.